202nd day that we've actually spent here. I added up the days over the last 3 years. Today's number is 202. And this has changed a lot in 200 days. This is what it looked like back then at the beginning. Ivy everywhere, covering the trees, the ground. It's very closed in, lots of underbrush, dead trees, piles of stuff everywhere. Just many years of neglect and hoarding. Tree crew with this equipment here is going to take this tree. It's all gnarled and dead, and it's in the way of this nice walnut here. We want the walnut. We want this other tree. I'm not sure what this other one is. This big huge tree behind it. That one. So we're going to take this one out. They're going to use this machinery to do it. Got a big extendable boom and a nasty cutter head on the top. And I'm looking forward to this. We need to get these trees down that are too big for us and that are dangerous. This tree with the orange is another one that they're going to take down. It's very dead, very rotten, and very close to the wires, which run right through where this envelope is. You might not be able to see them, but they're very close. And I worried trying to cut this down that either the top would break off in a funny way and be very dangerous, or hit the wires, or both. So this leaning cherry, I think it is here, as the cicadas go wild, we're going to take that down. It's just got a bad lean to it. It's hanging over the buildings that we have, and it's just better to take it down. So we're going to get them to do that. And the final tree we're going to take down is this walnut that's behind this tan building. It's got leaves on it. When we first talked to the tree guy, it basically had no leaves, and now it does, but it's still kind of in bad shape. And we don't want that falling on stuff either. It's a big tree. So we're going to take that down. I wish we didn't have to, but better to take it down before it falls down. Once these guys got started, they were so fast that I missed taking down the first tree. Only caught up to them when he was starting to bucket into some smaller pieces. Wires are right here, going just over that boom. It was a lot easier and safer than me taking that tree down. The whole top half of it there. And that's the kind of thing I was worried about with that tree. Kind of gratifying to see it happen. Made me know that I was right. Not to try and take that one down myself. tree is so rotten. From the ground, that PC grab looked deceptively small, but as it came down lower and lower, it's basically like a whole tree on its own. Pretty impressive. It actually took him longer to get that machine set up in the right place for this tree than it did to take the tree down. He took quite a while to get set up. The first position he was trying didn't work, so ended up moving it over here the way you see it. But once he got to take the tree down, it was just done. Here's a look at the business end of this machine while it's having a quiet moment. The operator he actually decided to take several limbs off the big walnut with the bucket truck first because they were very dead, and he was worried about damage to the buildings right underneath the tree, so that was certainly prudent. So while he was getting the bucket truck set up, I had a moment to look over the machine in its sort of static state. I guess it's a fairly new machine for these guys. He said he'd been operating it about 4 months and liked it, except it was quite stressful because he was very worried about not causing damage to anything. This was another piece of tree that looked pretty tiny way up there in the canopy, but when he got it down to the ground here, it was like a whole tree on its own. And that thing just kind of plucks it around like it's nothing. Now, I've obviously clipped this video and taken out the boring parts and so forth, but honestly, taking down this walnut, I filmed the whole thing. I believe the rough footage is 17 minutes or thereabouts, including all the boom lifting and raising and other things that I may have cut out. So it's really impressively fast to take down a tree that was 3 or 4 feet in diameter at the bottom, as you'll see when we get there. And all the while on the ground, what you don't see a lot of is the two-man crew with the Bobcat just picking up all the bucked pieces and getting them in the trucks, so that by the time the tree was down, it was basically cleaned up too. So this was a very quick and efficient process. All 4 trees from start to finish took just over 2 hours, and that's totally cleaned up and out of here. So it's definitely an efficient machine to use to take down these trees. Once we got down to the larger pieces of the trunk, we started looking at the cuts to see what kind of condition the wood was in, and if there was anything worth salvaging for construction lumber, then we set it aside. Nice walnut. So it seemed a shame to just cut it up into pieces and throw it away. As it turned out, I ended up with, I think, 4 or 5 decent-sized logs that I've set aside. I don't really know what I'm going to do with them, but there's some reasonable lumber in there that I might use for something if I can figure out how to slab them. Couple of the pieces like this one that looked pretty good initially when he cut them off more, there was some rot there, so he cut them into smaller pieces, set aside the good ones. We got rid of the ones that were starting to be hollow in the center. Look how hollow these pieces are as we started getting down near the base of the tree. Made me very glad we decided to take it down. A few walnut logs that we saved out of that tree that came down from right here. The base of the trunk was completely hollow, so nothing to save there. These came from a bit higher up. Some nice wood in there. They're cut into lengths that hopefully I can handle. I'm sure these are super heavy, but the tractor and the excavator ought to be able to deal with these little pieces. I don't really know what to do with them, to be frank. I don't have a sawmill. I don't know how to store them in the meantime. It's a little broad at the end of that one, but he cut it, you know, to save as much as possible. And I couldn't bear to throw out this nice walnut. But my first order of business is to figure out where to move these and put them somewhere less in the way. I'll get to that. I know I can move these with the tractor. I just have to figure out where to put them. And then I have to figure out what to do with them from there. Worst thing that happens is they rot and I don't do anything with them, but I would like to avoid that fate. So here's where that big tall dead tree used to be. That stump right in the middle there. Nice to have that go. I'll come back later on and cut this stump as flush as I can with an old chain. I doubt this will show up on camera, but there's a deer in the field right about there. Get my fat finger out of the way. Deer are not a rarity down here. There it is, right in the center of the frame. That's the stump of the first tree that they took out here, just inside the end of the driveway. I don't know what it was. Never was able to identify it. It was pretty solid inside. I don't miss it. It was just interfering with this nice walnut that we would like to encourage. And this tree, whatever this is, this huge thing.